The ports of Iskar used to be teeming with exploratory and science ships looking to resupply or restock, all eager to find out what was beyond. Many tried to get to the other side. None ever made it. According to the tales and stories, most of which I heard from drunks, tell a story of a supernatural origin, like something was preventing them from ever going forward. They say that the void they sailed through was eerie, darkness for days, months, or even years. This, they say, drove some to madness thrown overboard, left in the void. Some others say that they saw a giant beast lurking in the darkness, emerging ever so slightly into view. Another drunken man claims to even touch the beast and saw its red, glowing eye up close and personal. And he says it was the eyes of the devil. Could you believe that? Same stories, same tales. Some even had the nerve to say that they slayed the beast. What a bunch of crap, I say. That was far long ago. The war with the Empire and the theology brought Iskar, a once rich garden world, into another backwater planet. The riches they once held from the ports are all but gone. Exploration did not matter anymore. War was much more profitable after all. Privateering, mercenary work, a chance to become a vassal, drove more and more ships and people to the front lines, my son included. I wonder what he is doing now. I hope he is okay, though the thought of him dying was not out of the picture. I just hope he returns alive, or at least intact. I am not a fan of war. I was a veteran. I saw what war is. Old men talk while the young men fought. I saw my brothers die, their guts splattered, limbs torn and broken. It was hell itself. I still have dreams of those moments. The people I killed haunt me in my sleep, their faces distorted, their screams, the screams that keep me awake at night. My brothers begging for help, yet I could not move nor speak. I never wished for my son to experience this. That is why I forbade him to go to war, yet he still did, and I was powerless to stop him. I run a small tavern in Iskar, near the port. It was the only tavern left. Business isn't great. Same faces every day, same stories. One would get bored out of one's mind. That was maybe why my son left. The population wasn't doing well either. Most of the young went to fight or work on other planets. Now only the old are left. I hated the war. I hated how it took my son. I hated what it did to my planet, to my cities. I hated the nobles who started the war. I hated that it has gone this long. I hated being taxed to death. I hated the world, the galaxy. But most of all, I hated myself for failing my wife. A simple request: protect our child. I hated that I would see her in the afterlife looking at me disappointed. I prayed to all the gods to please put an end to this war, put an end to this misery, yet none answered, nothing but silence. It was a cold, moonlit night, a strong breeze as I chatted with my old friend in the cemetery. We fought together in the army. We promised each other to return alive. Well, only one of us kept his promise. I was told he died after a botched assault on the enemy line. So in a fit of rage, I stormed the very same line they attacked and took it. I was proclaimed as a war hero and given a medal. Funny, all I was waiting for was for someone to kill me. I was drinking some of my homemade brew, occasionally pouring one for my old friend. I talked to him about many things: my son, the loss of my wife, my life. It was rather calming to have someone to talk to, even if he is 6 feet under. I talked about the gods and their powers. If they are so powerful, why don't they just stop the war? Let it end. Go back to the time where we only worked and worshipped. There was a church just ahead of where I was sitting next to my friend's gravestone. I slowly walked towards it, swaying side to side, clearly drunk. There was a statue of the goddess Willow, goddess of peace. I kneeled, clasping both my hands, and prayed, "Oh, goddess of peace, hear my prayer. I would gladly pay any price. Please just stop this war. I beg of you. Have we not suffered enough? Have we not spilled enough blood? What more do you need of us, you?" The moonlit night was interrupted by a bright glow in space just above the planet. I thought I had seen everything, yet this was something new. From what I could see, it was a big white glow in a circular fashion. A loud sound emitted from it like thunder. It woke the entire city. All came out of their dwelling and looked to the sky, and saw what I saw. From the white thing came hundreds of unidentified objects. I ran to the city center. I was old, yes, but not that old. I saw something out of the corner of my eye. It glowed red like a meteor coming down. I do not know where it was headed, but if it was what I thought it would probably land towards the old dock. The planet had only a small amount of anti-void weapons, but no young men to mount it, and with no permanent planetary forces, having only a small militia to fend off pirates composed of old men. If it was pirates, we would lose. I ran to the mayor. "What is happening, Malil?" I asked. "I do not know. I just heard cracks." "I thought I was hearing things," Malil answered. "Have you told the militia to arm itself?" "It may be pirates," I say as we walked down the stairs to the port. "I had sent out messages. They should be here by the minute," he answered. Okay, I'll get my gun from the store. Tell them not to approach the landing pad, I told him as I ran for my store. The gun was a Mark 6 plasma rifle hidden beneath the bar table. I also had a Rincha pattern scattershot, but it was upstairs. I reloaded the Mark 6 with plasma canisters I took from the box just beneath the Mark 6 and headed out to the docks, where most of the militia and almost all the citizens were watching as the ship landed perfectly on the dock. The militia held the high ground looking down onto the platform, which was hanging on a cliff. Above the sea, there was a ramp going up onto the city street. On each side were militia members pointing guns toward the dock. I was just about to regroup with the militia, but before I could, the shuttle doors opened. All guns were readied and pointed at the shuttle door. I rushed to the platform while shouting to the others not to fire. I was curious. Well, all of us were curious. I was alone on the landing pad with the shuttle slowly walking towards it, weapon at the ready. A being with what looks like carapace armor like those bugs, the Clandu species. It had a suit of green, but it was not a uniform color. It had different shades. It had 4 limbs just like us. It had a helmet covering his entire head. Its face was covered in a dark material we had never seen before. As it stepped out, he was taller than us by a few meters. Its hands were at the level of its shoulder with his palm open. I could count 5 digits for each hand. A far different species of us, though we are similar in limbs, we had only 3 for our digits. It spoke with some unrecognizable sounds. I do not understand your language. State your business. What are you doing here? I asked. Wait, why did I ask them in my language? They clearly cannot understand us. Stupid, I thought to myself. It gestured on its neck, pointing at something. A metal thing was embedded into the neck of the creature. It moved, and I instinctively raised my gun to it. It reached for a thing in its pocket located on its chest plate. A weird place for a pocket, I thought to myself. It took out another one of the things on its neck. It threw it near me, and I picked it up, still keeping my gun pointed to him. He gestured again, telling me to put the thing on my neck as well. I was confused and distrusting. Why would I put an unknown thing in my neck? It would be stupid to immediately trust something, especially from a species I have never seen before. It kept speaking. He pointed at me, then at himself, then made this weird gesture by making his hand into something like a V formation, sideways, opening and closing its hand. Put the goddamn thing on your neck, Igor! Malil shouted from the crowd. I am not putting something in my neck that is alien. What if this was a parasite? I retorted. You watch too many goddamn movies, Igor. Just put the damn thing on. I promise I'll kill you if you turn. Malil shouted with a gleeful smile. Buy me a barrel and I'll do it, I say. Done, Malil answered. I put on the damn thing on my neck and it started to hurt, searing pain for a few seconds. Then it stopped. Can you understand me now? Says the alien. Yes. State your business and reason for being here, I say, as I signal to put down the weapons. Commander Tixon of the 3rd Army Terran Command, he said as he put the tip of his hand on his helmet and stood straight. Are you the leader of that massive fleet? I asked. That would be Grand Admiral Glenn Tarvik, he answered. Then what is your purpose here, then? I asked. Simple, we are lost, he answered. Oh, I see, I say. This was the very first encounter of a new species, humanity, the Terran Republic. On the 831st Lunarian month, we encountered a new species that called themselves humanity. That evening in the house of the mayor, I find myself sitting at a rather large table, 4 seats on each side and 1 on each end. I was at one end, and across from me a lone human or Terran, both interchangeable, sat. Behind me were the militiamen that followed us. The mayor insisted that we take some for our own protection just in case. The mayor, Malil as we call him, had appointed me as representative rather than himself. Now he's going to owe me more than 1 barrel, I thought to myself. Above us was the 2nd story. There was no ceiling that separated the 2nd and 1st floor in the room. So curious people watched from the 2nd floor. The mayor was one of such spectators. It had railings to ensure safety, of course. Some had even sat on it. The room was decorated decently, at least much better than my tavern. Plants lined the corners with lights hanging from the 2nd floor ceiling, providing excellent lighting, animal heads above doors and walls. The human looked around, seemingly admiring his surroundings, or at least that was what I thought he was doing. Descent place, Tixon says, complimenting the surroundings. I am glad you like it, I say. Come to think of it, I never managed to catch your name, he says, as he turns his head towards me. Name, Ketch? Is it some sort of species? I asked curiously. You do not have a concept of a name? How do you address people then? Tixon asks. We go by what our Genofather give us. I am called Igor of the Demos species, I answer. So your name is Igor, Tixon says, clasping both hands and setting them on the table. I do not understand this name. What my Genofather call me is what I will be referred to until death, I say as I slightly tilt my head. A name in my species is given to us by birth, so if I were to apply my culture to yours, your name would be Eager, Tixon says. Forgive me, we had never had a concept of name, I say sheepishly bowing. No, there is nothing to forgive. I mean, you do not know anything about us, nor do we know anything about yours. There is bound to be some confusion, Tixon explained. And also, why do you keep bowing to me as if I'm some sort of nobility? Tixon added, you have two, names, Commander Tixon. Those that have more than one are bound to be of noble lineage, I answered. Really? No, I am of no noble lineage. Commander is not a name, but a title for a position or a rank, Tixon says. Then you are of noble lineage. Those that have rank are usually nobles. If you have a title, you must be quite famous. Are you a hero, perhaps? I ask. What? No. Okay, look, just treat me like one of your people. How about that? Tixon says. I understand, though I do have one question. If Commander is not a name, then may I ask for your name? I ask. Oh, yes, of course. My name is Tixon Quinton Greaves, Commander of the 3rd Terran Army, Tixon answers. All the spectators gasped in shock. It confused and surprised Tixon. I stood from my stool and bent to my knees, lowering my head and placing one arm behind me and the other floating above my head, palm open towards the ceiling. So did the spectators. The confused Tixon rose up. What are you doing? Have I said something bad? He asks. Forgive this one, your lordship. I should have asked for your name earlier. I had no idea we were talking to royalty, I says, voice cracking under pressure. What? Royalty? Don't tell me. Oh, sorry, but I am not royalty. Okay, now stand up, come on, Tixon says. I slowly lifted my head and began to rise. So did the spectators above us. I sat back down, and so did he. I was now cautious. If I remember, royalty could kill anyone over the slight offense. I saw these many times during my deployment. Your lordship? I says before Tixon cut me off. Tixon, again I am no noble. Call me Tixon, he says. T. Tixon, you did say you were lost? Do you mind elaborating on the matter? I ask. Yes. Well, we were supposed to be on our way to a joint exercise on Dalek 4. 1st, 2nd, and 7th fleets were supposed to meet us there. However, when we began warping, something strange happened. According to the crew, they heard a bell ringing. Some of my officers said they heard it as well. That was before the navigation malfunction. Our navigators did input the right coordinates, and the computer supports it too. But we still lost our way. It was strange to say the least. Tixon explained. Now we are here, wherever here is, he added. I see, I say. I beckon one of the militiamen behind me to get me a known map of the universe. As the militiaman went to find a map, I noticed something strange behind him. The light was off. It was distorted, like a hallucination. It was bending. The distortion moved. I aimed my rifle by the light, and the militiaman followed suit, confused where to aim. We are not alone. Something is here, I say to the militiaman. Whoa, stop! Tixon shouted, standing, placing both hands on the table. Lieutenant, show yourselves, he shouted. As if on cue, from behind him 2 figures emerged from the dark. They were like him, human, but their clothes were as dark as night, covering their full body, their helmets fully covering their heads and faces. 2 more appeared on either side of me, and last was the one behind me, whom I had spotted prior. This was the answer to the question I was just about to ask, why this human came alone without guards. Turns out he did. Forgive me, but these are my bodyguards. We did not trust you. After all, we did not know if you were hostile or not, Tixon says. Please lower your weapons, he added. We lowered our weapons as the rest of the guards went over to Tixon's side of the table. The militiaman who went to get a map opened the door and was confused. He walked to the table and laid down the map. After that, he took his old position and leaned to another militiaman. What did I miss? Before we could speak again, a townsfolk came rushing through the door. Theology fleet sighted. They already sent us a message. They said they'll be here by the minute, he says. Theology fleet here? What could this possibly mean? Did they notice humanity's arrival? Whatever the case, I needed to hide our guest. The theology does not take kindly to the unknown. Humanity is the unknown in this scenario. Hide your ships as fast as you can. Trust me. Contact your fleet now, I commanded. The human moved his head, as if to acknowledge. He put one of his finger by the side of his helmet. All forces, engage cloak. I repeat, all forces, engage cloak. 0 protocol, repeat 0 protocol, Tixon says. Head to the basement, I say to Tixon, as I beckon one of the militiamen to me. Take the human to the basement. I reeled my head back to Tixon. Do not make a sound. Keep quiet. Theology soldier, do not take kindly to the unknown, I say. Tixon and his guards followed the militia to the basement as me and the mayor went to the port, awaiting for the arrival of the fleet. The citizens scrambled to get into their homes. We waited for a few minutes, hoping that they would not notice the giant fleet just a few light years away. As I looked up, I saw nothing but stars and the darkness of the void. Looks like whatever the commander did worked. The night was almost over when the theology fleet orbited and landed a small vessel into the port. What came out was a priest of the church, typical for the theology. We greeted them in standard courtesy, complimenting the priest in every way possible, giving us nothing but silence all the way to the mayor's house. In the same place as where we talked with the human, the priest sat eating. Across from him was the mayor, the same place I was before. We kept quiet and lowered our heads so as to not disturb the priest. He was of Binar species, no eyes, but could feel through small electrical discharges he emits, no nose either. They had multiple tentacle appendages both for eating, grabbing, and walking, though most of them use a chair carried by other species. Food would just simply be inserted into its bulbous head and just disintegrate. And of course, as a priest, he has a small staff made of gold with the church's symbol atop a dome-like structure at the tip of the staff. After a while, he stopped eating and revealed his staff to the mayor, which then the mayor stood up, walked towards the priest, then bent the knee before kissing the holy staff. It was the law. The priest began to speak. The gods demand more from his faithful, and as such, I was dispatched here to carry the holiness's words to the faithful. The gods demand more, and thus we shall now double the taxes of this planet, the priest says. What, doubling the taxes? But your holiness, that would spell doom to this planet. We can barely afford to pay the previous taxes. Please have mercy to your followers, the mayor pleaded. This is the word of God. You will procure the necessary requirements, or you will face God's wrath. The gods have spoken. We will be back in 6 months. I have delivered God's word. Now prove your faith. The priest says, The anger in me ran red as the priest walked past me, but they were too powerful, and thus we had no choice in the matter. The mayor, still in disbelief and dread, could not say another word as they left. The human emerged from the basement and met us at the docks, the mayor on his knees not knowing what to tell the people nor what to do. I looked behind us, and there was the human looking at us. I still could not see the face behind the helmet they were wearing, but I could feel his pity for us. I just hope that we will be able to complete the problems ahead of us. I took the mayor back to his home, helping him walk up the stairs to his bedroom. He was still in shock and disbelief at what just happened. The theology just visited the planet, demanding more resources and taxes on the already heavily taxed populace, and the mayor tried to persuade the theology to no avail. 6 months is a short time, not even enough to grow and harvest crops. 6 months from now is the month of Sundew. If we want to pay our tax, all of the people of Iskar have to work double time, which is impossible since almost all the populace were of old age. Even if we were to pay in time, there is no telling when the tax would be reduced, quite an impossible ordeal. As I tucked the mayor in, I noticed Tixon by the door of the room, standing there staring at us, as if wanting to say something but cannot find words to say. As I walked out of the room, shutting the door behind me, I say to him, I am sorry, Tixon, for the display of weakness. Is this how your world is treated? Tixon asks. Come with me, I say to him. We exited the mayor's house. As we walked through the green meadows, farmlands, and scattered houses towards my tavern by the dock. We entered, and the door creaked and moaned. The inside of my tavern was much less decorative than the mayor's house. Old stools, tables, and old floating lights. The bar stool fared no better, aching and withering due to age. Sit here, I said to him as I walked towards a small double door behind the bar leading to the back. I poured 2 tankards of Nell, a staple beverage in any bar. I walked out the double door again holding 2 tankard. I saw him looking and seemingly admiring the decorations. But more importantly, while I was at the back, he took off his helmet and set it on the table. This was the first time I saw him without his helmet. He had fur above his head and eyes. Speaking of eyes, he had a pair. Totally different from us having 2 pairs on both sides of our head. His eye color was green, rare in our species. His nose was slightly elongated forward, while ours were simply holes on our head above our eyes. We had no fur on our body, so his fur was a surprise. His mouth store white pearls of some kind. I could not tell as I only caught a glimpse. His flesh was slightly pink, while ours were blue. I sat across from him. The table was smaller than the one at the mayor's house, so I could really see the difference in size. I gave him one of the 2 tankards I was holding, and I immediately consumed the beverage. This pour gave me a buzz. Newly fermented Nell saplings tend to be stronger the fresher they are and tend to lose it the longer they ferment, leading to a more fruity taste. As I put my tankard down, I could see Tixon looking at the drink. I could tell he was unsure whether to drink it or pass. He dipped his finger in the tankard and licked it. That was the sound he made before drinking the entire tankard dry. I just stared at him in awe. Impressive. No one has ever drunk the tankard dry? On that note, are you okay? I asked, genuinely asking if he was okay. Most would pass out before finishing the drink in one go. I'm okay, though the alcohol in this, What do you call this? Tixon asks. It is called Nell. It is a standard beverage in taverns like mine. This particular one is newly done, so it is a bit strong. Left long enough it loses the buzz and leaves a fruity drink, I answered. Ah, this Nell is incredibly tasty, though the alcohol is on the lower side. 6 of these might be enough to give me a buzz, Tixon says. What is this alcohol you talk about? I ask. This, he answers, pointing at the empty tankard. Okay, let me ask you. You have fruits, correct? He asks. Yes, we do, I answer. Then what do you call a drink made from those fruits? He asks. You can make drinks out of fruits? Juices from our fruit taste bad. That is why we don't make drinks out of fruit, but you do? I ask with curiosity. This thing you call Nell gives you a buzz, correct? He asks. Yes, I answer. This is what we humans call as alcohol. Anything that gives you a buzz is considered an alcohol, he says. I see, but how does one create drinks out of fruits? I ask. Ha ha ha, looks like you got a lot to learn from us, my friend, he says, laughing. The tavern went silent for a long minute as I slowly finished my drink. Tell me, Eager, those people that came here, I overheard your talk. You let them treat you like this? He asks. It is the law of God. The priests are the embodiment of God's will. Anything the priests say is the word of God himself. Besides, what can we do? We are just some backwater planet at the edge of the unknown. I answer, it has been this way as far as I could remember. When the Empire came for our species, the theology fought with us against them and absorbed us. My people were displaced, and I was lucky enough to be a part of a colonization effort due to my actions during the war, but even so, the theology is no different than the Empire. Their nobles treat us as peasants. They send us to war not caring if we lived or die. The only difference is that the Empire outright kills those different than them. I added, Forgive me, it seems the Nell is doing its thing. You must be exhausted. You can sleep in any of the bed upstairs free of charge, I said to Tixon. I will gladly take you up on your offer, thank you, Tixon says. Tixon stands up, takes his helmet, and heads upstairs. I hear the door opening, then closing. I took the tankards and put them in the sink behind the bar before going through the double door into my room in the back. The bed felt softer than usual, and after a few minutes of laying down, sleep took me. Commander Tixon. As I head towards the door, closing it behind me, my helmet chimed. I put it on. Commander Tixon report, Admiral Tarvik asks. The locals are non-hostile. It seems this planet is friendly. I could not say the same for the government it follows. From what I have gathered, it seems the government is some kind of theocracy. Information is still scarce, so we may not have the whole picture, I answered. Good. Continue gathering information, said Admiral Tarvik. Sir, if I may, I ask. If this is about helping the people, forget about it. We cannot afford to be found out, not while our drives are fried, the Admiral remarked. Sir, we do not know how long it will take for the drive to be fixed. Would it not be more beneficial for us to establish a good relationship with the planet? I ask. If we meddle in this conflict, chances are we would be dragged into a war we were not meant to be in, and I would like to bring back the fleet intact, the Admiral answers. I understand, sir, but did we not swear an oath to protect those that cannot protect themselves, to help the weak, to keep the peace? I ask. Do not quote me on my oath. My job is to make sure we all make it back alive, the Admiral retorted. Continue your mission, Admiral, out. The call cut to silence, and Tixon sat on the side of what looks to be a bed. LT, he calls. Yes, sir, the LT answers, uncloaking from a corner of the room. Take your team and investigate the planet. Prioritize documents and books. Start with the mayor's house. I'll give you a month. Can you do it? He asks. Yes, sir. We will keep you updated, the LT answers. Good. Begin the mission, he commands. What will you be doing in the meantime, sir? The LT asks. I guess I'll do some farm work, he answers. 3rd Fleet flagship USS Bastion's bridge, few hours before jump malfunction. USS Bastion, all preliminary tests came back green, says one shipman. Power and munition at full, says another shipman. Report from engineering, core fluctuation detected, but overall she's combat ready, sir, says another. Coordinates planted, waiting for your order, sir, the navigator says. Attention all ships. This is Admiral Tarvik, all ships report. The Admiral was sitting in the center of the bridge, surrounded by shipmen looking at data, reporting any and all anomalies in and around the ship. Battle Group 1, coordinates set, all green, Admiral. Battle Group 2, all green and ready, sir. Battle Group 3, set and ready, Admiral. Battle Group 4, all set, ready to go. Reserve, lock and loaded. Engage drives, he commands. White glow enveloped the bridge, and all braced for a long ride ahead. After the initial burst of speed after engaging warp drive, the bridge was now stable enough for people to walk normally. Admiral Tarvik walked toward a railing in front of his seat. It had a large pad in the center displaying the current status of the ship. He looked at it, and all sectors showed up green. 6 hours till we're out of warp drive, sir, says a shipman. Good. I'll resign myself for the night. First hand, you have control, Tarvik commanded. Yes, sir, the first hand answered. The admiral went out of the bridge, and as soon as he turned towards his room, General Tarvik! Someone called out from behind. The admiral spun around and saw his old friend. Commander Tixon, you're still alive? Tarvik says jokingly. Well, when you're good at your job, you tend to live a little longer than most, Commander Tixon says jokingly. Both walked towards each other and gave each other a hug. Commander Tixon being the larger of them, both lifted Admiral Tarvik a few feet above ground before putting him back down. Well, my friend, what have you been up to all these years? Seems like you're doing well. How's the family? Tixon asks. Well, my youngest is actually about to graduate from naval school. The oldest is running for governor position on the council, and well, my wife's still at Earth, the Commander Tixon answered. What about yours? Judy still trying acting? He added. Yes, she still does actually, though she is working for the central bank. She did get a gig as an extra in a movie once, Tarvik answers. That is fantastic. I sure do hope she doesn't forget about his godfather when she becomes famous, the Commander Tixon says. How about a drink? My treat, Tarvik says, inviting Tixon. Tarvik buying me a drink? Tell me, what did you do to the real Tarvik? Ah ha ha, the Tixon says jokingly. Later at the bar, both the Tixon and Tarvik were talking, telling stories, all the while drinking hard whiskey. 1 bottle, 2, 3 bottles they finished. It was good 2 hours before they rested for the night. A few hours passed when suddenly the ship started to creak and moan. Red lights were flashing, indicating an emergency. The admiral in his bed immediately stood up and ran to the bridge, haggard and wearing night attire. The door opens and the admiral comes in. Report, he shouted. Engineering reports a core malfunction. They are working to fix it. Computers are malfunctioning, unknown cause. Sir, navigation is also busted, unknown cause. We are working to fix it. How much time till we're out of warp drive? Tarvik asks, while walking toward the railing with the large pad. Calculations before malfunction said around an hour, sir. The admiral looks down at the pad. All sections of the ship show red. This is not good. The core is the heart of the ship. It has top priority. It needs to be fixed first. What's the status of the sea? He was cut off. The ship rocked hard, as if stopping suddenly. All of the crew fell to their knees. A loud bell-like sound resonated from nowhere, all instinctively covering their ears. It was loud, very loud. They could make out something aside from the bell, a soft whisper of words. Chosen found light, it said, before the white glow again enveloped the bridge. The admiral was on his knees and began to stand. The sound was gone. The glass in front of them showed the void of space, a familiar sight. He stood up looking at the pad again. This time all sectors were green, indicating no signs of malfunctions nor damage. Report, he commanded. Sir, all computers are working again. Engineering reports core is stable. The admiral was confused. All sectors of the ships glowed red and were suffering from problems just a while ago. Navigations report, he commanded. The shipman looking at the navigation screen, his eyes were wide. Sweat poured down to his pale face as he responds, Sir, navigation reports, you unknown coordinates. All at the bridge stopped and stared, as if time stopped. The admiral told him to repeat it again. Navigations report. Well, we are in uncharted territory, unknown coordinate. The silence was broken when the rest of the Third Fleet came after them. Hailing all ships, report. Battle Group 1, warp drive fried, sir. Green everywhere else. Battle Group 2, warp drive non-functional, sir. Still getting reports for injured. Battle Group 3, warp drive is dead in the water, sir. Minor damage to some sectors. Battle Group 4, few minor injuries, but warp drive got damaged, sir. Reserve warp drive severely damaged, sir. Our warp drive as well is fried as well, sir. The admiral was in disbelief. All the fleet's warp drives were damaged. What hit us? All the ships seemed to be intact asteroids? No. Tests had been done, and it was impossible for an asteroid to hit them. Besides, no damage to hulls could be seen. Anomaly? Could be. If so, this is something new and foreign. What else? Tarvik thought. His thought got interrupted a few seconds later. Planet detected, sir. Air seems to be breathable. Civilization detected as well. What's our course of action, sir? Asks the shipman. That was the moment when Tixon came into the bridge confused. What is happening? He asks. Tixon, you studied diplomacy, right? Tarvik asks. Yeah, 2 years before changing majors, why? And also, where are we? Tixon asks. We do not know. To summarize, we are lost, Tarvik answered.